E, então, estou indo com Spanish. Um, you don't connect too much.
Okinitsukwa. Okeamo Blood Tribe Housing Community Meeting held on March 21st, 2023. Introducing this evening's agenda is Rosie Many Grey Horses, Blood Tribe Housing Relations Officer. Included in the evening's agenda is an address from Blood Tribe Housing Director Rachel Tailfeathers, a presentation from Blood Tribe Housing HRO Leslie Waterchief discussing spring home maintenance, a presentation from Blood Tribe Advanced Care Paramedic Satinder Singh discussing fire safety, a presentation from Blood Tribe Social Development Director Arnold Fox discussing the unique challenges the Social Development Department is facing. And finally, a presentation from Heather Tailfeathers at Kainai Children's Services Corporation.
I am Rachel Tailfeathers. I work under Housing Director. I started in 2018. And since 2018, the Housing Department has been working on the communication with our members with community meetings. We've been having our community meetings at least once a year, but this coming fiscal year or this year, we'd like to be in the community, have more community involvement with that communication and education between the members and the housing program. So this is the same presentation I presented to our leadership, so I'm presenting this to our community meeting today. In the first picture, you see there's an increase in drug use in our community. The second picture is more weapons in or around our community, in our home. There's more gang activity in our communities. And there's more vacant and abandoned units on our home, on our reserve. When I started back in 2018, the inventory for housing was about 1,200 units. Out of those 1,200 units, we estimated about 100 units that were vacant or abandoned throughout zones 1 through 6. If you don't know, the Blood Tribe is divided through zones 1 through 6. With each zone, there's approximately 200 units per zone. And we did an assessment on 2 zones. We started back, I believe, in late October, and I believe we finished about end of January, just for the 2 zones 1 and 2, which is located the south of the reserve. And just from that assessment, we did about 400 units, I believe, along with the community of Moses Lake. And with just that, the 2 zones, we identified 40 vacant and abandoned units. So with that said, it increases the illegal behavior, if anything, in around those vacant or abandoned units.
Hi. So thanks for coming out. It's a really good turnout, and it's really good to see everybody out. So tonight the HROs are doing a presentation on clutter.
Blood Tribe Housing Relations Officer Leslie Waterchief shares some important contact numbers, as well as the contact information for other Blood Tribe Housing Relations Officers. Leslie shares some spring home maintenance tips, like checking and testing your thermostat and replacing the batteries when needed, checking your smoke detector and changing the batteries when needed, checking your bathroom exhaust fan and keeping them clean, checking your range hood filters and replacing the filters when needed, checking the seals of the windows and doors, and it's important not to place tinfoil on the windows. It's important to check your door sweep and weather stripping and change if necessary. Sump pumps, remember to plug them in and make sure they are working, especially in the spring. Check for any leaks in your hot water tank. Change your furnace filter seasonally. Check on it often. Clean lint from your dryer vent so it doesn't start a fire. Keeping and checking your heat ducts to see if they are all connected and attached securely.
Season, so it's really important that you make sure that the sump pumps are plugged in, that they're working, and that the hose where the water comes out is going away from the house.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Satinder. I'm an advanced care paramedic and a firefighter here on the tribe here. Today we're going to do some fire prevention slides here, a little PowerPoint, just to kind of like have an idea of how to prevent a fire and if there's a fire and what to do when there's a fire. So, on to the next slide. The objectives of this slide show here will be learn about fires, what to do before a fire, what to do during a fire, and how to prevent a house fire. How to properly use a fire extinguisher if you have one in case. What do you need to know about house fires? Just kind of quick and easy way to learn about it. So fire is fast, it's hot, it's dark, and it's deadly because it gets really dark in there with the smoke. So in less than 30 seconds, a small flame can turn into a major fire. It only takes minutes for thick black smoke to fill a house to engulf in flames. Fire is hot, heat is more life-threatening than flames. So if you're trapped in the house, that's not good because the heat will get to you if the fire doesn't. Room temperature in a fire can be 100 degrees at floor level and rise to 600 degrees at eye level. That's why you always drop when there's a fire, but it's always hotter as the air rises.
Okay, kitkunaks matsinakpuan ng hatakot. Nisto ako kung kasabi ko ka. O nimatsin siya Arnold Fox. And Kainai Protection and Standoff Director of Blood Tribe Social Development. Nitam mo kinadi mo siya ako'y kaksin ng hatakot. Taksin na siya ko isimnani. Non-stop po ka po takiman na mo siya ako'y kaksin. Tsakasuki itsi ko nukatebis ko so I don't want to dakshapatsi ko si dakshapi ko yakamo tskakadapi ayapi ko ikskaya yukhtsimu ayapi ukstapi takes kamsikam tekkams ko sometimes to the bistkos but tsakasuki itsi ko kashkakamis. I'm glad we were invited tonight to this gathering. There's been a lot of issues over the years that have brought social development and housing together. So I just want to briefly run through some of those. As you all know, we provide income assistance for those people that aren't employed or have any other means of income. So we step in as the social development. We're mandated by Indian Affairs to carry out this program. We receive our rates and our policies from Indian Affairs. We are totally funded by Indian Affairs, so oftentimes we are not allowed to input on the policies that we have to carry out. We're a program on the Blood Reserve that's totally funded by Indian Affairs. None of our band funds go into this program. So as it is, our program provides food, clothing, and shelter. Now, Ron, you've got some mushka, nishbatsamushka, kochkuyos. o kerkohkuistutuksoksi, kerkohkuipstukoksni, aamusei dotyitskatupina. So maa kamip ei piisni, kamitani stakitani kinan, imatsukukkuutsimah pamptites isik. I can't afford this one, so I need to apply to social development. We've got a whole process that we go through in order to approve that applicant. Once that application has been approved, we do include food, clothing, and where necessary, the rent, the shelter part. So that's what we're entrusted to do. So we act on behalf or in conjunction with the tenant. Oftentimes we advocate. When we realize that a client needs housing, we will go to bat for them in the form of a support letter to housing, saying that this client is doing okay and should be considered for a house. So that's our input into the selections that are made as far as who's renting which house. So our relationship is with the tenant, housing is the landlord. So you think of tenants and landlords in this operation, and we're more of an advocate for the tenant.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Heather Tailfeathers. I work with Child Protection. And talking about all our social issues, we all experience the same kind of, problems. I think it was in 2019 when our departments kind of started working together, emergency EMTs, the Blood Tribe Police, Child Protection, housing, regarding, the community. And I believe that it does take a community to raise a child in a safe environment. And that includes every one of us. When you see a child or children that are at risk, or there's, drugs or other criminal stuff happening in a home, report it right away. Not, 2-3 weeks later when you have an incident with that person, and then, so much can happen between that time. And within the last 6 years, 7 years, since these drugs have come into our community, we've seen great losses. We've seen kids lose both parents. Some of them are orphans. They don't have their parents anymore. And that's where we like to seek out community members, family, to take these kids instead of ending up in foster care, foster homes that are non-native. So that's where we're at. We try to do our best to follow up on the reports we get, and we want to work more closely with the Blood Tribe Police, because I think that we could really assist one another in fighting these drugs. I just want to tell you a personal fact is that being a child protection worker, we can go into a home without a warrant. So if there are children there at risk and we are working with the Blood Tribe Police, we don't need a warrant to go into that house if there are children in there.
We would like to thank you for watching the Blood Tribe Housing Spring 2023 Community Meeting Highlights. I am Blair Russell with Blood Tribe Communications and Community Engagement.